Hey everybody, Sean Holsinger here from holsingersflyshop.com. The sulphurs are here in my area if you're watching this video as I just post it. And time to tie some dry flies. You know I do a lot of nymph patterns and a lot of nymph fishing, and hey, if the hatch is off and they're feeding on top, I'm just like anybody else, I like to catch them on top. So here's one of the patterns that I use for the sulphurs. A long time ago, the guy that taught me how to fly fish, he taught us about using crippled ones with a shuck on it that often do real well during the hatch. You know, it's an easy target for the fish. So I'm actually going to tie this one with some EP fibers for the tail, and it's going to look like a shuck, like it just emerged, but like it's stuck in its shuck actually. And it makes an easy target for the fish. Sometimes they key on those ones because they're so easy for them to catch. And otherwise, don't be afraid just to use Coq De Leon for the tail. If you don't have the EP fibers, don't worry about it. Use some Coq De Leon, Micro-fibets, whatever you use for your tailing material. It'll work just the same. This is just a little different twist to do to catch some fish. You know, actually, I would say tie them both. Tie them with whatever you use for your normal tailing material, whether it be rooster, hackle, or whatever. Use that and have a couple of these in your box just in case. You know, try them. They may work better than the other day. If they're not hitting the ones with a regular tail, throw one of these on it. It might just trigger the fish. So anyhow, guys, simple tie. Well, it's not real simple. It's something, it takes a little bit of practice to get onto this parachute, but I actually fish the parachutes a lot more than I do a catskill because I just think when I cast, they'll lay down on the water flatter and better, the way I want them to ride in the water. So this is the way I like to fish a dry fly if I'm tying dry flies, which is parachute style. Here you see the fly in the vise and then the material list to tie it. Okay, here you see the sulphur parachute in the vise. Let's get into tying it. For a hook, we're going to use a Firehole 419 barbless hook. I always use barbless, and I'm tying this in a size 14. That is kind of the average size, especially at the beginning. You might get some 12s, you get some 16s at the beginning, but 14 is pretty much the average around here for the beginning of the hatch. And then it goes downhill from there. It'll go down even to a size 18 at the very end. But 14 is a good place to start. Have some 14s and 16s with you, and you'll do fine. Now, I'm going to tie this with the shuck attached to it for a tail. And I'm going to go just a little bit less than the length of the body and tie that in. The tail, I'm using EP fibers. This is trigger point, and the color is March Brown. They have a brown colored shuck to them, and I don't like it to be square like that, so I like to just come in and trim it off just randomly. Just make a couple slices, thin it out a little bit. I like that. And then I'm just going to trim this down so it gives it a little bit of a taper. It doesn't make it big and bulky. And blend it in there, cover it up with my thread. For thread, I didn't say I'm using yellow Nano silk, 12-aught Nano silk. And now for the post on this, I'm going to use some fluorescent orange Antron yarn. You can use whatever color you want. I like to use this. I can see it well. And I'm going to go about a good healthy eye length behind the eye there. Make a couple wraps right tight together. And then we're going to take the two ends and pull them up together. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. The way I usually do is make a couple wraps in front, build up a little dam there. A couple wraps behind. And then I'm going to just start twisting it. Some guys will turn it sideways. What I like to do is make about 4 soft wraps around her, get her good and get it good so it stays on there, and then I'll snug it down, and then I make a couple wraps around just to make sure it stays. Now I like my wraps to go further up on the post than that, so once I get it good and tight and wrapped together, then I'll come back in and wrap my post up like you see, and then go back down. Okay, now we got our post tied on there. The next thing I'm going to do is, like a couple of those fibers there are bugging me on the bottom. I'm going to trim them off. Next thing I'm going to do is put my hackle on. For my hackle, I'm going to use a dark bar ginger hackle. Okay, I'm using this hackle. This comes off a saddle, so it's going to be all nice and uniform. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip the fibers back, just get the shank of the feather, the shaft of the feather there, and going to cut it so I have a little bit of that to tie down. And then we're just going to tie it down on the side of the hook. I always tie it on the side closest to me, just what's most convenient and comfortable for me. And then I'm going to run it right up beside that post. And I'm going to tie it to the post. I'm going to go wrap right to the top of where I wrapped my fibers, or sorry, where I wrapped my thread on the post before, and wrap it back down. Then once we come down the body, you see that's going to wiggle around there. That's fine. Now I'm going to put my dubbing on. And for dubbing, I'm using Nature Spirit Extremely Fine Sulphur Orange. And I'm putting this on real thin. It's extremely fine, as it's called. And just wet your fingers a little bit. Twist it on there real tight so you get a real tight noodle on it. And then we're just going to get back to the tail here. And we're going to start wrapping forward. I know that's probably annoying watching them feathers go out of the way. But there we go. We're going to just wrap this right up there to that post. Now I need to tighten this up a little bit because it's getting a little too bulky. Then once I get to the post, I'm going to make a couple wraps on each side of it. Wrap up to my head. And then you see there, I got a nice taper on that. I'm happy with it. So I'm going to pull off these fibers, the extra that I had, and just finish this up. Got a real nice taper there I'm pleased with. And now it's time to do our wing, I guess you would say the parachute. We're just going to take this hackle, and I'm going to wrap it around that post, side by side, nice tight wraps. And I'm going to wrap it right down to the body. Once I get down to the body, I'm going to take the feather and I'm going to pull it straight down. And then with my thread, I'm going to make sure I go above the eye, over that feather, then above the body, and then I'm going to come down with it so I don't trap any fibers, and then go over the eye, above the body. Just keep wiggling up and down here so you don't trap fibers. And I like to make about 4 or 5 good wraps on there. Once I do, then I'm going to come over my eye and make a wrap around it. Actually, I went the wrong way. Go under the eye, make a wrap around it. If you have to, pull your fibers out of the way so you don't trap them down, and get that eye tied off. Now there's 2 options here. Old school, you can take a pen, just do 1 wrap around the pen and do a half hitch. That's the way I used to do this because I didn't trap fibers. The other way is you can come in with a whip finish and just be careful. And try not to trap the fibers. And do a whip finish. So if I'm doing a half hitch, I'm doing about 5 of them. Whip finish, you know, what I normally do. And now we have this still hanging down here. So I'm just going to come in, trim that off as close as I can. And then I'm going to look underneath and see that I don't have any fibers hanging down. I'm happy with that. So if I had any fibers hanging down, I would trim them off. Now for the post, you see it's really, really long. I'm going to cut that down about maybe 1/4 of an inch on this fly above the hackle. And then what I like to do is just give a little tug on that post. It helps pull those fibers down and spread this out so it makes it a little bit more visible. One other thing you could also do is you could use 2 colors there, make a bicolored post, which makes it even better to see in different colored light conditions. So there you go. Alright guys, there's my sulphur pattern. Like I said, I tie it both ways, with a regular tail and with the trailing shuck there. And I do good on both. And you know, it's a great fly, it's a great pattern. Downsize as the season goes on. Start with, they'll take 12s. They're going to come off in a size 12 in our area, tier 2. I always tend to err to the smaller size, and I catch fish that way. So I'm just going to start with the 14s, make sure I have 14, 16s, and a couple 18s for the end of season, and I'll be good to go for the sulphur hatch. Guys, any of the material you need to tie these, we have on our website, and we have it listed down below in the material list down there. If you need any of the materials, just click on any of the links down there and head right over to our website. I thank you guys for watching and supporting our channel and our shop. Can't tell you enough how much I appreciate it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting on the videos. I love getting back to you on your comments and stuff. And until next week when I bring you another video, I'm Sean Holsinger.